From The Australian, here's what's on the front. I'm Claire Harvey. It's Thursday, June 6th. Anthony Albanese and Peter Dutton have put on a rare show of unity. They've slammed the Greens in Parliament, saying they're fuelling tension and division over conflict in the Middle East. The PM says pro-Palestinian protesters targeting electorate offices, like his in Sydney's Marrickville, are undermining their cause and preventing others from participating in democracy. Economic growth is all but ground to a halt, slumping to its slowest pace in 3 decades outside the COVID pandemic. Treasurer Jim Chalmers said on Wednesday high interest rates are to blame for the slowdown, and he doesn't expect things to improve before the end of the year. Those stories are live right now at theaustralian.com.au. The boss of News Corp Australia, Michael Miller, wants the federal government to pass so-called social licence laws that would expose social media executives to criminal penalties if they breach Australian law. Miller, whose company publishes mastheads from the Herald Sun to Vogue Australia, The Australian and The Front, says if the tech giants don't comply, they should be expelled from the Australian market. That's today's story.
My name is Frances Haugen. I used to work at Facebook.
In October 2021, the worst nightmare of executives at the world's most powerful social media platform, Meta, came true. A whistleblower, Frances Haugen, went public in the most dramatic possible way. This is Haugen addressing the United States Senate.
I joined Facebook because I think Facebook has the potential to bring out the best in us. But I'm here today because I believe Facebook's products harm children, stoke division, and weaken our democracy. The company's leadership knows how to make Facebook and Instagram safer, but won't make the necessary changes because they have put their astronomical profits before people.
Meta's founder, Mark Zuckerberg, said Haugen's claim it puts profit before people was untrue. On Wednesday, at the National Press Club in Canberra, News Corp Australasia boss Michael Miller took up the fight.
These tech giants, especially the social media networks such as Meta, TikTok and X, operate outside our legal system. It's time for them to play by our rules. They have deep pockets. They are highly litigious, but that is no reason why they should not be subject to Australian law, and we should seek to enforce Australian law. The words social licence describe the permission companies have to operate within a society. The tech monopolies should also be made to pay a licence. This social licence would be a package of laws and requirements the tech monopolies would need to meet if they want access to Australian consumers.
Miller recommended a suite of new legislation designed to keep the tech platforms accountable for the content and ideas they amplify. They include making it easier for users to contact the platforms directly, breaking up the digital advertising monopoly, honouring the news media bargaining code, and, importantly,
penalties that incorporate criminal sanctions for companies and their executives that agree to the licence but then break the rules, and the power to ultimately block access to our country and our people if they refuse to play by our rules.
Miller said part of the problem is that fines don't work.
Because on social media, bad behaviour is good for business. The social media giants, they profit from evil videos. They profit from bullying. They profit from online con artists. They profit from glamorising eating disorders. In the words of a British father who lost their child to suicide, they monetise misery. In Meta's case, according to a recent report in the UK's Sunday Times magazine, that profit is a staggering $136 million every single day. The ACCC has ruled that for media companies, Meta is an unavoidable trading partner.
That means the media companies have no choice but to use the social media platforms to get their journalism to Australians. That's because all our habits have changed so much. More and more, we live in our social feeds now, instead of tuning into the 6pm news or swinging past the news agency to pick up the paper in order to find out what's going on. News organisations have to post their stories on TikTok or Facebook if they've got any chance of having them noticed by the audience.
And in 2021, Parliament determined that Meta should pay for the news it uses.
That's the world-first news media bargaining code that was passed by the Australian Parliament after the ACCC found the big tech platforms were the news media industry's unavoidable trading partners. Essentially, the ACCC, which is the competition watchdog, said platforms are profiting from news content and should pay for it. Facing the threat of the code, both Google and Facebook did deals with Australian publishers. Now, as its 3-year deals expire, Meta is refusing to renew them, saying neither it nor its users are actually interested in news now. Their decision now triggers the possibility of them being designated under the bargaining code and told that despite what it says, it is still using news content and should return to the negotiating table. In Canada, faced with the same demand that it pays for news, Meta turned news off on Facebook, saying you can't force us to pay for something we no longer carry.
We had a deal, they walked away. I believe they have an obligation to renew the agreements and honour our laws. It is intriguing that Meta has no problem turning off the news, but has a big problem turning off teenage fight clubs, the bullying of young women, or scam advertising. We cannot let ourselves be bullied. Meta must be designated under the Media Bargaining Code and challenged to negotiate in good faith.
But the problem is, who can make them pay?
Meta has been a frequent target of regulators. In the last 2 years, as of last week, there are at least 30 enforcement actions against Meta around the globe. But when does this money get paid? Their usual pattern is to fight any ruling against them through appeals in the courts for years. The tech monopolies love to use the law to protect their right to be above the law. When the threat of regulation comes in their direction, the tech monopoly has a playbook. They declare that they want to be regulated, but no solution is ever workable for them. Then they insist that regulation should be harmonised across jurisdictions. And Meta knows that such a global agreement is never going to happen.
Miller said the social licence he's proposing would put social media executives under exactly the same kinds of rules that apply to every other company.
A company may want to come to Australia to mine the mineral of the moment, copper. We rightly regard copper as Australian property, and if you want to extract it, here are just a few of the things that Australia requires. You will pay a royalty on the copper to access the copper. You will fairly negotiate with the landowners. You will hire Australians and meet all our industrial relations standards, safety requirements and awards. You will meet all environmental requirements and you will pay to fix any damage you cause or face penalties. In my view, the tech monopolies are also mining companies. But they don't mine our minerals, they mine our lives.
Coming up, how AI fits into this complicated picture. Like the media landscape, The Australian is always evolving. Our subscribers get breaking news alerts and commentary direct to their phones, as well as access to newsletters and special events. Check us out at theaustralian.com.au and we'll be back after this break. In May, News Corp's global boss, Robert Thomson, announced a landmark agreement with OpenAI, a tech company that owns the generative artificial intelligence platform ChatGPT. Generative AI falls under the broad umbrella of machine learning. That means sophisticated algorithms crawl the internet and synthesise all the information they can find on a given topic. Then they spit it back out in whatever format we ask for: images, videos, essays and more. In licensing the expert fact-check journalism produced by News Corp's many mastheads around the globe, the hope is that the information served up to users of ChatGPT and others is of the highest quality and accuracy. News Corp Australia CEO Michael Miller was asked about the agreement at the Press Club on Wednesday.
Thank you for your speech. Olivia Ireland from the Sydney Morning Herald and The Age. Ms Miller, a year ago, News Corp was giving warnings about the use of artificial intelligence and its effects on the media, and now you're doing deals. What exactly has changed?
Generative AI has not been in the vernacular for long. I think what has changed over the past year is that a lot of those AI companies have learned from the tech platforms to engage with media earlier. And that's what I think all media companies are seeing, that they are wanting to have conversations. They see media as being important partners, and that media companies should be open to having those conversations. There's no doubt that those AI companies need media companies, and that if the partnership is right, then I don't think media companies should be closed-minded to working with AI companies either.
So you're not going to hear episodes of The Front scripted by ChatGPT, ever. And this is where the confusion comes from. News Corp, like other publishers, is exploring the use of AI to make journalism more efficient, faster and more accurate. But it's not anywhere near our news or investigative content. It's information like weather, traffic conditions, fuel prices, all based on information that's publicly available and independently verified. I asked the boss of our data journalism division about this, and he said generative AI is not writing stories. It can't be trusted for that. Nothing is published without being carefully checked by an editor, a human.
Thank you, Dana Daniel from the Canberra Times again. You've said that it won't be a big deal if Meta leaves Australia and that we can just come up with other social media platforms, fill in that space. But Australia is not really a tech superpower. Do you see this as something that government should fund and subsidise an alternative social media industry in Australia?
First of all, Meta leaving the country. The eSafety Commissioner said that there were 32 million reports of child exploitation online last year. 85% of those came from the four Meta platforms: Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook and Threads. They are by far the worst actor, 32 million. Good riddance. If you don't want to not just sign up to our values, but sign up to our laws, why do we want them here?
So we don't need subsidies then?
I'm not here to ask for subsidies. I'm asking for the government to move quickly with a social licence that enshrines our way of life, that protects Australian businesses, not just protects Australian business, puts us a level playing field. We're not even asking for protection, we're looking for a level playing field. Have them play by our laws, and if not, put penalties in place. That's what other businesses have to sign up to, that's what they should sign up to.
Thanks for joining us on The Front. We'll be back right here tomorrow. In the meantime, join our subscribers at theaustralian.com.au.